Artistic Director of Page 73. Thank you for joining us for this information session about the application for Page 73's 2027 development programs. I'm joined here with Page 73's Associate Artistic Director Kari Olmon,
Hi.
our Development and Marketing Manager Lauren Floyd,
Hello.
and our 2026 Page 73 Playwriting Fellow and member of our 2026 Writers Group, Adin Lenahan.
Hi.
Um, we're going to talk through the application for the 2027 programs. We're going to try to give you details about what the process for applying is and also answer some of the questions that we know frequently come up. And we're also excited to take questions from those who have joined us here in the Zoom today. This is being recorded, so it'll be on YouTube so that people can be referencing it and watching it even if they couldn't join tonight as they fill out their application, which is due Sunday, April 26th. So you have a little bit of time. We wanted to get this up there in time for everyone to have a chance to make it useful. So for starters, this application is by and large, and I mean like over 95% of the way that we meet playwrights. We, of course, are theater people. We're out in the world. We're seeing things when we can. We get invited to things. But really, really, really primarily, the playwrights that have ever gone on to work with Page 73 in our development programs, workshops, productions, we have met through this very application, which we've been running now for well over 20 some years. So do apply if you're interested in Page 73 getting to know your work. We value this process so much. We have a, we use paid readers. It is a very big and important part of our annual pipeline. We take it very seriously and we put a lot of resources into it. And so, yes, we encourage you to sort of put yourself in our pipeline by using this application. What you'll be applying for specifically is either or both of the Page 73 Playwriting Fellowship and the Page 73 Writers Group. To be eligible for both of these, you need to be within Page 73's mission. So our mission is to launch the careers of playwrights, and we define that by devoting all of our resources to playwrights who have not had an off-Broadway premiere in New York City. An off-Broadway premiere we usually would define as, a 4-week run that was produced on a full equity contract in, in a theater space. There are some exceptions. There are some gray areas. Sometimes people will reach out and ask us about their technical eligibility, and we're happy to answer those questions. But for the most part, there's playwrights who haven't yet had that off-Broadway premiere and those who have. And we're here to work with those who haven't and help move them towards that premiere. And then our productions are, of course, that off-Broadway premiere for a writer. Other eligibility requirements, we do not want to be overlapping if you're in a full-time academic program. So we welcome you to apply in the last semester of that program because by the following year when the programs start, you'll be eligible. But if you are in, the first or second year of a program that's not ending yet, hold off and come back to us when you're about to graduate. If you're in a part-time or a certificate program or something like that, that can be fine. And again, if you're worried about a gray area, please reach out to us and ask. We also work with playwrights who are pursuing playwriting professionally in America. That is, it does not matter to us what your citizenship status is, but it is important that you are pursuing sort of the American playwriting field, I suppose you could say. And then finally, in terms of eligibility, we offer this guideline of having written 2 full-length plays or 3 one-act plays. Sometimes people want to ask us like very technically what's the dividing line of that? What we're really trying to get at is that we are for a set of early career playwrights who have really committed themselves to this career path, who are really working, who have really tried out their craft and are building it, and maybe obviously don't have that premiere yet, but this is probably not the first time they've tried writing. There's amazing groups out there for extremely early career writers, those who are just getting started. We are sort of like the next step after that. So just again, if you have questions, reach out. I haven't been saying this, but I think you can be reaching out to info@page73.org. Okay, so to quickly describe the two main programs that you can be applying for, our fellowship is our longest running development opportunity at page 73, and it's also our most robust, and it's awarded to a single playwright every year. So we get hundreds and hundreds of applications, and we spend the whole year going through them all, and we identify semifinalists, then finalists, and then the single fellow every year. The fellow receives $20,000 paid out on a schedule over the course of their fellowship year. That is money to live on. And then we also provide a $10,000 development budget, which is up to the fellow to work in collaboration with Kari and me on how to spend it to further any number of works. It could be on research and travel. It could be on workshops and meet, and it could be on uh, going to see theater that you need to be seeing that's hard to afford otherwise. Creativity is welcome. Thinking outside the box is certainly welcome, but that's a $10,000 development budget that the fellow really gets to guide over the course of the year. And then the writers group is a group of 8 writers who meet right here. This is page 73's office here, about 20 sometimes a year. It works out to being about twice a month, and then we take July and August off. And that is a completely closed program. There is no public element of it. It is just the 8 writers and Kari and myself who attend. And writers are sharing 4 or 5 times over the course of the year, but of course, showing up to participate with their peers for all of the other sessions. We do pay $3,000 to each writer for this because we value your time, both when you are presenting your pages and when you're showing up to support your peers. We read around the table. We've got great snacks and beverages, and we try to have a nice time of it. It's Tuesday nights here in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. So for that program, you do have to be a resident of New York City or the immediate area because you have to be able to attend 22 or so meetings throughout the course of the calendar year. We understand sometimes when folks are applying here in April for next year, they don't actually know where they're going to be next year. So I recommend that if you're interested in the opportunity of the writers group, even if you're not sure where you're going to be, check the box, apply for both the fellowship and the writers group, and then we would be checking in later in the year with anyone who's being considered for the writers group about their ability to attend meetings. Um, so I want to stop monologuing here and invite Adin. I was hoping, Adin, you could describe how you are currently thinking of using your fellowship year. And I say that word currently because, of course, it's only March, and part of the flexibility and fun of this resource is it can and probably will change as the year unfolds. But welcome, Adin, and yeah, would you let us know sort of what you've been thinking and planning and doing with your fellowship year so far?
Thank you, Michael. Sorry, I haven't figured out how to turn off the Zoom closing in on you thing. So for the fellowship year, I'm gonna go to Edinburgh with a really old friend of mine, and I'm gonna use about almost half, but not quite half of the money to do that. And we're gonna do a show called Judy Garland is Fat at Carnegie Hall. It's about Judy Garland at Carnegie Hall, but also her relationship to uh eating and the way people controlled her eating and the way being a movie star controlled her eating. And then my friend and I, like, our experiences with similar things and like my Ozempic journey, Groupon Ozempic. And it's a drag show. And then the other half I would like to use because you get correct me if I'm wrong, you get one like workshop, like robust workshop public
Yeah.
for a play. And
Not only will I not correct you, I'm glad you mentioned it. That was a pretty major thing I left out of the
yeah,
fellowship. You
it's
get a big
really
public workshop that
it's
we
very cool. So you get that, but I want to use the rest of it to do another one because I don't know, like why not? Like it's hard to get your work in front of people, especially like readings. I mean, I'm old, so like readings used to be like $200 and they're not anymore. So I think it's just such a, a great opportunity to get your work in front of people. Um I do want to say to encourage anyone who's crazy enough to do this, but like $10,000 is enough to put on a show if you wanted to. I considered it, but then like going to Edinburgh was really, it's putting on a show, but like was a real dream of mine and my dear friend. Like we've known each other for 20 years, and I've never been able to afford it. But if you, I think Michael mentioned earlier, there's a lot of ways you can be creative with it, and I encourage that. Like, I really think that's true.
Yeah, and just to round out what I had left out, so because Page 3 thinks one of the valuable things that we can do is share the work of our fellow with our audiences, the audience that we build for both our development work and our productions, is we also provide a full and complete week-long workshop with 2 public readings that is not part of your $10,000 workshop. And just as Aidan said, many, many times the fellow chooses to do yet another one also if they have that amount of work. Which I'm going to sneak in a little FAQ here, which is to say sometimes people misunderstand the fellowship application as a play application, like as an application about a play or a project. And we do ask you to talk about what you're interested in pursuing, but you're actually applying for you, the playwright. The award is for you, the playwright, based on the work that you submit to us. And over the course of the year, as we go into the semi and then finalist phases, we're getting more work from the folks who progress. So really, it's not about trying to win the day with this pitch, so to speak, of a certain specific project. It's more about us getting excited by what you get up to as a writer. And so when we do a workshop, and then if you use it for other workshops or for going to Edinburgh, or last year's fellow traveled to South America for research in a way that would have been very difficult, I think, without the funds, that's all determined by the fellow. And then can we talk about the writers group for a second, Aidan? How have you decided to use those biweekly meetings?
Um, well, as an audition, because you get to read for everybody, but you might not be hams like me. But to be serious, I started writing a new play, and I brought in pages and it was really, really helpful, and I'm going to continue with that play. But I think the next time I've started writing another play, like I guess what excites me about the writers group is it's so rare that you have that many like really great minds to like just at your disposal almost. So um I'm excited by the idea of we all have our tricks and like things that we're good at, and I think it's a great place to try out the things that maybe you're not or like that you're questioning and like um and to yeah, so I have one play that I've brought in already about someone whose phone gets kidnapped by evil phlebotomists who want to discredit vampires. Uh, it's really, really important work. And but I'm working on something else too. Like I think, and what I've seen from everyone else in the writers group, like you can really use it a lot of different ways. Like people bring in things they've already like finished, but you still want to hear it aloud with other people who you don't really know that well. And then you can write a new play. Like I think there's a lot of really interesting ways to use that room. It's really lucky.
Yeah. And the corollary point to what I was saying about the fellowship not being project specific so much as playwright specific, the writers group is actually the same. We're not asking you to write a play for the writers group. There is no graduation moment. It is a working writers group for professional writers. Any given week, you might even think you knew what you were going to bring in, and then someone called you the week before and said, "Could we do a reading of that play of yours I remember?" And then suddenly you want to dust it off, and so you use this writers group to get it ready, and it can change each time throughout the year. And so it's a resource for the writers. Well, thank you for that. We're gonna both pause for a second and let Kari take us through the nuts and bolts of the actual digital application that you'll all be filling out.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Okay, moment of truth as I try to share screen. Okay. Okay, are we all looking at the application together? Fantastic. So this is where our application lives. It will always be page73.org/application. This application will always be free. You do not have to pay to play. We don't want that barrier to entry for our development programs. You can see you've made it this far. You're at the info session. Congratulations. We're very glad to have you. And here is the application itself. Deadline April 26, 2026 at midnight. And Michael already laid out the programs beautifully and concisely. We just always encourage folks to take a close look through as they're applying to make sure they're eligible, to make sure they are really delving into the program so they can make the best case possible for why their work might be a fit for it. So the fellowship, the writers group, the eligibility requirements, and timeline for notifying applicants. So it's always a disorienting moment for the new fellow when we put the next application live, like 2 months after they've been announced. Suddenly this year's fellow and writers group are already old news, but not really. But it does begin early because it's a very long process. We take this application incredibly seriously. We use all of our best colleagues, our mid-career playwrights, directors, dramaturgs, stage managers, designers to help us review all the applications and to narrow down the applicant pool. So that's why it is such a prolonged process. We start reading as soon as the application closes, and then in early fall, September, October, we're announcing approximately 12 semifinalists. We're requesting more material from those semifinalists and then narrowing down to 3 or 4 finalists who we interview, and then choosing our fellow at the very end of the year to announce in January. The writers group is on a slightly different timeline. We interview folks for that sort of across the fall. As we put that together, we try to lock it in a little earlier because we know it's a scheduling commitment that we hope everyone will be able to honor over the course of the next year. Submission procedure. This online form is the only way that we accept applications. If you're having any issues, technical or otherwise, please reach out to us, info@page73.org, so we can help you through it. And application materials. Okay, so this is the important part where we really break down the substance of what we're requesting from you. The letter of intent. If you have applied to us in previous years, you may have encountered different versions of this letter of intent. Sometimes it's been an essay, sometimes it's been short answer prompts. In this current iteration for 2027, we are back to a document that you generate and upload yourself, but we really want to underscore the importance of answering these questions as you introduce yourself in your writing to us in the letter of intent. And that is both in terms of how the programs that you're applying for would help address your current artistic challenges and how they address your current professional challenges. Because as we may get into a little bit later with Adin, Michael and I will work closely with the members of the writers group and the fellow with their craft, their art. We're there as dramaturgs, but we're also there as, professional resources and a professional launching pad. It is both the artistic and the professional sides of launching a professional career in playwriting. So please really consider how our resources could be the right fit for you at this point in your career, artistically and professionally. And then we ask for a 10-page sample from a script, and then also the full script. The 10-page must be from the full script. They cannot be 2 different things. It's the same source material, and then a playwriting resume. And Then you just fill in your information here, select which programs you're applying for, and then we do have this option to contextualize your sample a little bit briefly because we know that 10 pages are difficult. It can be challenging to capture the breadth of your piece in just pages. Maybe there's an abrupt tonal shift. Maybe there's a crucial plot point, just anything that would help us and our readers be the best possible readers of your play. So you upload your materials here, click submit, and that is all there is to it. Michael, is there anything I should add before I unshare the screen?
I I don't think so. I think what you were about to say is what I was about to say, which was asking Aiden to
Yes.
think
To
aloud.
yes, and so now Aiden back in the hot seat, we'd like you to share a little bit about how you approached your application.
Well, I mean, I checked. The first rejection I got from page 73 was in 2016. Like I've been applying to this program for 10 years, not consistently. Like I have a life, but like but I've been applying and I self-produce. I apply for jobs. Like I've been applying to stuff for 20 years. Like it's really I don't, I get, I don't have great advice about like personal statements and things. I think that is the advice. Answer the questions that are there, but like you're a writer, like you have like your voice and like who you are and like what you want to say. Like don't be too afraid to be honest. Like Michael and Kari like aren't gonna be like, I can't believe they said that. Like be honest and like about what you want and what you need. Like they really are cool about it. Um and I think, over the years, even maybe more so than plays, I've racked my brain over artistic and personal statements and never knew what the right thing to say was, and have I've put things in personal statements that I regret, like things like that. Like, I just wouldn't worry too much. I think it's actually what's great about this program and is that they say like this is what we'd like you to talk about. Like talk about it and because you can and you have something to say about it. And uh yeah, I know that's not very helpful, but
Yep.
No, it's great.
I was glad you brought up the honesty point because okay, so I've been reading these applications for 16 years. So let's not do the math on how many that means I've read. But the ones that can still stand out to me, A, are often end up being the fellow, but there was a sense that in this document, I just knew who this writer was and what they were trying to do. And so I do think that was rooted in like really being yourself, not worrying about this pitch idea, not worrying about buzzwords. I promise you, we don't use AI to evaluate your letters of intent to see if you used all the right words for the off-Broadway theater. We don't use AI at all. But if I can read a letter of intent and be like, okay, I have a sense of this playwright now, let me turn to the writing, because I do usually read the letter of intent first. That's usually setting yourself up for success. And the other thing Aiden said, which is answer the questions. Our readers are explicitly directed to score only highly those letters of intent that answer the questions. It could be the most fabulous, hysterical, fun little personal essay, but if it doesn't address the questions, it's not going to particularly work in this process.
And I'd say that between fellowship and writers group, it's every year it's a real mix between writers who are applying for the first time and we're encountering their work for the first time and they're invited to join the programs, or they're a repeat applicant and we've been getting to know their work over multiple application rounds. So there's really no right way to to do it. It's just for us at page 73, we're always just trying to pair the right resources with the right person at the right time. It's a very specific and special kind of alchemy. So, that we always encourage repeat applications, and we always encourage people who've never applied to us before to take a shot, because you never know what could happen, and it could always be the year.
Yeah. And maybe this can lead us into the FAQ section, which also means that you all can start asking us questions. But one of the things I think we try to emphasize in this session, and for anyone who's watching it, is that this is an application for resources that will be right for you in calendar year 2027. It's not a writing prize for our favorite play. There are prizes like that out there, right? Like the Yale Drama Series. You submit your script. If it's their favorite play that year, you win. That's actually not, in some ways, not at all what this is.
Yeah.
This is 8 or 9 writers, depending on whether the fellow is local and joins the writers group, or if it's 8 writers in the writers group and then the fellow. So it's 8 or 9 writers who excite us, whose writing is exciting to us, whose letter of intent are written with self-awareness and frankness, and who in the calendar year 2027, which is what we're talking about in this process, can use these resources to push their career forward. Our whole goal is to launch careers. And so we want to see that we can take our, humble resources here and apply them to the 8 or 9 writers who we can make the biggest impact on in 2027. And I think that might just be a different way to think about this than this is a writing competition for favorite play. To get the fellowship, honestly, the formula is that great application along with our favorite plays. Like it just is. Like we just are in love with Adin's writing. But the writers group is 8 fantastic writers who there's just a numbers game. Like there's just only one fellow every year. So we're gonna love the writing of tons and tons and tons of writers, but we're looking for those 8 or 9 who just apply really well.
Yeah, and so we're about to invite your questions. So while you're thinking of them, we'll just toss out another frequently asked question that we get, which is, does page 73 have a specific taste or aesthetic? And the answer to that is no, we do not. What we're looking for is distinct voices, a way with language, writing that is specifically for the medium of live theater, that can't be just dropped into a TV pilot or a screenplay and work just as well. But other than that, it's really all fair game. We have, especially within our writers group, we really have the full spectrum of tastes and approaches, from the most avant-garde to the more realistic, and really everything in between. There is room for all of it. We do not have a house style.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to offer an FAQ while people feel free to use the raise hand function or just chat it. And maybe you are chatting it, and then someone will tell me that. But to talk a little bit about the sample, I know if you're applying and you're thinking about how to make this application as strong as it can be, as we're encouraging you to, you have quite a choice to make around this sample. As Kari said, it does have to be a sample from the full-length play you're submitting. If you proceed in the application review process, we will read that full-length play. But initially, what you're introducing yourselves to us with is a 10-page sample. And so 2 things to say about that. It does not have to be the first 10 pages of your play if you don't think that that makes for the best sample. I always use the example, if you happen to be writing in either realism or naturalism, you might have a very slow burn for the first 10 pages. It might be very atmospheric and trying to sort of set the scene, and we don't know what's going on yet. I'm not sure, but it might not make a great sample. It might be a lot of behavior or a lot of atmosphere and not a particularly great showcase of what you will be doing later in the play. So pick a spot later on. Give us a stage direction at the top that says, here's what had been happening, and now we pick up. Use that little 50-word box that's in the application to contextualize your sample. We do, of course, instruct our readers to read that. But think about what makes the sample show us what you can do as a writer, and not worry about it being from the first 10 pages of the play. And then as Adin, the other sort of twin FAQ with that, because there are many repeat applicants, as Adin was one. The question often comes up as to whether you should submit a different play simply because than you did the prior year. And I would say there's not actually one just it's not just yes or no. There's no particular need to submit a different play, right? It's probably like the chances that you would get the same exact reader year to year is very, very low. Um, and that reader wouldn't penalize you for that anyway. I think what the play should do is two things, and I will admit it's a challenge. It should work really well as a sample. It's one of the tricky things about applying with a sample. It has to work as a sample. And it should be related to the artistic and professional, or especially the artistic challenges that you're talking about in your letter of intent. I have had some times where a writer in their letter of intent is talking about, like maybe about like breaking down all forms and burning it all down and coming up with something new. And then their sample is, two people eating dinner in a living room. And you think, huh, I wonder what that is. And so thinking about how your sample actually furthers what you're talking about in your letter of intent is probably wise. Maybe you're saying, hey, I've been writing dining room plays and I want to do more, but what my sample is going to be is a dining room play because that's what I have. I would give us that context then so that we make sure we sort of are keeping track with where you're at.
And okay, I'll take the questions we've received in the chat. Do we have to submit a budget for the 10,000 or submit a budget for the 10,000 development fund? You do not have to submit, an itemized budget or get that granular with it. Occasionally people do, and we always enjoy reading it and experiencing that attention to detail, but it's certainly not required. We just want to get a sense of the projects that you think you would like to tackle during your fellowship year, with the asterisk and full understanding that so much can change over the course of a year. And we certainly don't hold any fellow or writers group member to what they said in their application over the course of the year. And letter of intent, yes, the 700 word limit is for the letter, regardless of if you're applying for writers group fellowship or both. We find that the questions do tend to address both programs, and we're not looking for extended personal statements or, artistic manifestos. We're just trying to get to know you and your work a little bit.
Let's take a live question. I saw a hand raise. Oh, no, they took it down. Okay. Oh, there we go. Brian, yeah. Why don't you ask, come on down.
Yeah, I just was curious. It says that the playwright resume is not a artist bio. So what would a playwright resume entail?
Great. I think I'm on the hook for
Oh,
answering that
sorry.
because I called on you. We would like to know a sense of your body of work, so titles that you've written, if they've received development support or even productions out of town, so that we're getting a sense of sort of what kind of theater work, what your experience is with theater work. If you also write, academic articles or theater criticism or anything like that, I think there's like room for that, but it's not particularly relevant. So we neither want just a bio that says, it's from Allentown, Pennsylvania, and yada yada, nor do we want like a full CV where it's every last, time your name's appeared in print. It's like a playwriting bio, and understanding folks' early career covers actually quite a large amount of territory. So relevant, maybe you're also a director or you're also an actor, and then it could be quite relevant to share some highlights from that as well. But like a theater maker's resume, if that is any clearer. Cool. Vangeli?
Hi, I was wondering, has page 73 ever supported actor writers?
Oh, yes. Many, 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 an increasing number. And
Me as
Adin,
well.
Adin is one of them. Yes, in
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You want to speak to it, Adin? You're an
Well, and
actor, creator, writer.
Abigail, one of the writers in the writers group right now is on Broadway. Like she's, and she's not just like she like fell off the bus on Broadway. Like she's worked her ass off. Like it's no, I think that's a really and to Brian's question about like how you like write a playwriting resume, I think it's a similar thing where like you write the play you wrote and any reading, uh, anything it won, just like put that it did that. Like give people like a narrative of like what that play has been through. And like, yes, like I've lied like on playwriting resumes and said that
Oh no, wait, we're
not about the play that I wrote, but like just like, that it was, a reading is a workshop, like that kind of
oh,
thing.
okay.
Like, like don't lie about the plays you wrote, but I think that there is what I'm trying to say is this also has to do with being an actor, performer, and a writer is like all of that is relevant. I do a lot of solo shows, and I have a section of my playwriting resume that is solo shows. It starts with playwriting, and then I do solo shows and I separate them to give people a narrative and an idea of what it is. But I think it does help to see where it's been, where you did it. And that not necessarily because like you did it in a fancy place, but that you did it, that you've actually put it on its feet. That's, and I think Michael mentioned before, like page 73 is for people who have been in it for a minute. And like, and I honestly think that helped me with my application process is that I've been like making work in New York for a long time. I think it helps to show the ways that you've put your work on its feet. And being a performer, especially if you perform your own work, is one way. And also in a resume, like really dressing up how you've put it in front of people. And it's not just in your drawer. You've put it in front of people. I think that's useful. Sorry.
No, it's great. Thank you. I agree. I'm just sort of riffing on that. Like it is, I said this, we're launching careers. Like we are a professional service organization for playwrights in addition to being a production company. And so back to this idea that it's not just a straight up writing contest. If you are a writer who has never seen an actor read your pages, if it's just been you in your room writing plays, I think there's a real chance that you might be a bit green for our programs. I certainly think you're too green for the fellowship, which is a sort of a public um, early career, position. Our writers group is where we can absolutely welcome playwrights on the greener side, but still we're making theater. We're trying to help you push yourself forward in making theater. So having that experience or telling us what that experience is does feel really relevant. I'm gonna fire through some of the questions I see on the side here. Productions and translation abroad, that's fine. Honestly, you could have had 5 regional premieres in the United States, but if you haven't had a premiere in New York City, then you're still eligible for our programs. Um, featuring I guess I have to read these because people on YouTube aren't going to see this. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you feature multiple scenes from the same play in the 10 pages? I would advise you only to do that if it is actually what follows. I do not suggest making a tapestry of your play for the sample. I don't think I've ever seen that be successful. Um, I love this question, and I'm
Ooh,
going to
what?
ask it to Aiden.
Yeah, what made you successful this year, Aiden? What?
Um, I think, well, I do think, um, oh gosh, I hear my mother in my head, like the interview's important. Like it is like, when you get to that point of having to actually talk to people, it's important to be able to relate to people and to like also pitch your. I know we're not talking about pitching, but talking about yourself as an artist is really hard. And I've had so many experiences like I'm like the fellow and it's so nice, but like people are now who never cared about me ever are like, what kind of work do you make? And suddenly I have to like have an elevator pitch. It is important and useful to have elevator pitches. I think I think it's really like I do think I know I have this problem where my newest play, I think it's the best thing I've ever written, and it's just not. Like I think like submit the play that you've worked on for 10 years. Like submit the play that you've been really, really, really working on. I know it seems like the newest thing is the hottest thing, but it is the thing that's been with you the longest and is like an old friend. Um, I think that really helped me.
Yeah, and if one advances through the application process, there is an opportunity to where we invite people to share newer, fresher work, with the understanding that we know it's an early draft, it's in rougher shape, and we're good at reading plays and meeting them where they are in their development. And another thing I'll say for Adin's application as a repeat offender in the application cycle was that we really got a sense of the true breadth of their work and how different, wildly different the plays were. Like definitely connective tissue. This is all one writer. This is one writer's voice. But it was very exciting to see all of the different things they were up to. So getting that holistic picture of Adin as an artist that came through very well in their application also helped seal the deal for us. Let's see.
I'll hit a few.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Um, Two frequently asked questions I want to just put in this for those watching at home, in case it's on your mind, is thinking about the eligibility requirements I was talking about earlier. Some folks ask us about New York, living in New York versus not. I might have said this earlier, but just to be extreme explicit about it, the fellow can live anywhere in the country. You would have to be able to come here to take advantage of the workshop, hopefully multiple times, because one way to really get a career going in the American theater is to have a career in New York City. We can all get a drink and talk about the problems that are inherent in that, but it is true, and we don't want to act like it's not. So you'll have to be able to come here, but you do not have to live here to be the fellow, but you do have to live here to be in the writers group. It's just so important that basically you don't miss any sessions other than, of course, sometimes playwrights get professional opportunities that cause them to have to miss. But missing because it's just too hard to get here is not something that we really want to put that weight on the group. It's such a delicate thing we build between 8 individuals sharing, and attendance is the primary tool, showing up and being there and listening and being cast in the roles, as Adin was saying. So you do really have to be local to New York if you're going to be in the writers group, but you do not to be the fellow. And then the other question we get a lot is, hey, by early career, you mean young, right? Are you just trying to support 24-year-olds? What's up with that? I understand the industry has done this to the world, but no. No. Early career, we are defining as this moment before having an off-Broadway premiere in New York City. It is a very New York-centric way of looking at that. I own that. But if you actually look at the writers that we've produced and the writers who've been our fellows, you are not going to find a preponderance really of any one age or another. There's been quite a range. And I do want to state that for the record because I know that sometimes people think early career is a euphemism for young, but it's not necessarily that.
And I'm not young. Like I am not a young artist. Like I've been doing it for a really, really long time. Like I think I don't know, that mattered to me.
Yeah, and we've had writers groups where, there's more than a 20-year age gap between the youngest writer and the group and perhaps the oldest. And that's something we really welcome. It's part of what makes the group special and that sort of confluence of perspectives and approaches and the different lives people have had in the theater. Grabbing another question from the chat. For those who have applied in the past, are you able to offer any feedback on previous applications? I am sorry to say that we're not able to do that just with the sheer quantity of applications received each year and with the number of readers who help us in the task of reading them. We are not able to offer that.
Question we get a lot because one of the things you do on the application is you check between are you applying for the fellowship or are you applying for the writers group? Or you can check both boxes, of course, also. And sometimes people maybe in that nervy moment of checking the box start asking themselves, like, well, am I ready for the fellowship or should I just contain myself to the writers group? I would encourage you just check the boxes. No one is penalized ever for being like overly ambitious or like thinking that they are ready. Like we might decide you're not ready, of course, but I don't think you have to sort of edit that out yourself. A reason not to apply for the writers group would be like you don't want to be in a writers group, you don't live anywhere near New York City, or in 2027 you're going to be, you know, in another writers group that is going to take up all your time, or you know that you work nights, and so Tuesday nights in Fort Greene, Brooklyn's never going to work. So I think there are some reasons why you don't check the writers group box, but I'm always a little surprised when someone doesn't check the fellowship box, and I don't particularly encourage it. I kind of say go for it with all the self-awareness that we look for in general in the letters of intent, but I do encourage that.
Another FAQ we'll get is, can I apply as a musical theater writer? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. Michael R. Jackson was a member of the 2018 writers group where he was working on A Strange Loop and also White Girl in Danger, I believe. So sometimes you have to be a little more creative about how you share your work if it's you're presenting it at the writers group. Because we'll often read around the table. Obviously, can't do the same for music, but yes, you may absolutely apply. You can, well, we can make it possible for you to submit your demos to, you can link them as part of your application. All of that is fair game. Um, what else? What else? Um,
A question in the chat, just a technical one about uploading the PDFs. The question being, will it be one PDF or individuals? You'll actually want them to be individual PDFs. The application is going to have a spot for you to upload each one. And then the way that our readers access the material digitally, they will click into each one. Any other questions? We don't have to go on it much longer. I can imagine those watching at home are like, wow, it's already been 50 minutes. I'm looking through the FAQs that Kari and I prepared just to make sure we cover them, and I'm feeling like we've done pretty well.
Partnerships. We get that question. We folks are often asking us if they can apply as a writing duo. The answer is yes, if that is sort of how you approach all of your work. That comes back to art development programs being holistic programs, not project specific programs. So if you and a writing, you're applying as a partnership because you have one show that you're working on together, then that probably makes less sense to apply to us as a partnership. But if it's always the two of you writing together, then by all means, we've had that before, right, Michael, in the writers group?
Yeah, especially with musical theater writer duos who are sort of wedded, so to speak, that they're always writing their musicals together. That has worked well in the past. Yeah.
Right.
Great.
Last
Aiden.
call, last
Oh, yeah,
call.
yeah.
All right, one more. Um, Ooh, Michael, this is right up your teaching alley.
Okay, so the question is, does the writers group have experience engaging with work outside Aristotelian or Western dramaturgical frameworks, like durational structures, ritual architecture, nonlinear, etc.? Yeah, so one of the things Kari and I particularly enjoy about building the writers group every year is I made this point earlier, but it is not just the top 8 plays or playwrights we liked. It is a group of 8 playwrights that we are excited to see what happens when they're in conversation together. And so we are always very intentionally looking for writers who are not writing in the same way, maybe who are writing in ways that seem almost at odds with each other in terms of what their sort of like goals are. So that is very important to the writers group. As to whether, there's not a box for every single type of style out there that we managed to fill or anything like that. But also, as Kari and my background is in dramaturgy and in theater history and deep dives into theater criticism. So we, as the dramaturgs who attend the group, are certainly also excited and prepared to be responding to the work wherever you need us to meet it. We take that very seriously, and the way that feedback works within the writers group is also tailored to meet the piece exactly where it is and not presuppose the types of things plays should do, because we want to be a tool for writers working in all kinds of ways.
And I just want to chime in and say, I think the writers group this year is very like, all the writers are very different. And there's a lot you can take from other people and learn from other people. It's like really, I think Kari and Michael are very good at curating that, not just making it be like this a room of the same people. It really, it's and and when you go to people's readings and stuff and you learn more about them and go out to drinks and stuff, it's like, oh, like everyone is so different. Like I think it's quite special how well curated the writers group is.
Thank you. I mean, let's get all the compliments in here at the end. Quick question about whether the writing samples or anything are meant to be uploaded blind, like without names attached. No, we don't. This is not a blind process. We always tell our readers to start with the letter of intent. We want them thinking about you and your aims as a writer and what you think is important as they read your writing. We're not trying to presuppose there's some notion of um, objective blind reading. I'm not sure I believe that that's a thing.
I don't think it's possible.
We're ending on a hot take now. Speaking of, any final words from Adin or Kari, and then we'll wrap it up so that people can have their evenings back.
Oh, thank you all so much for joining us. This will live on in posterity on youtube.com, so you can return to this space and hopefully get all of your future questions answered. And we look forward to reading your applications. Get them in. We're excited for it.
And thank you,
I would
Adin, for
just say,
joining.
sorry, I would just say like really be yourself and like submit your best, the thing you're the proudest of, even if you think everyone would hate it, because Michael and Kari are really like smart and like they can metabolize what you have. Like, um, yeah, like don't be too scared to submit the thing you're afraid to submit.
I love that. And if you have questions as you're working on your application, info@page73.org. One of us will try to get back to you pretty quickly. They're due April 26th, right before the stroke of midnight. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great
Thank you,
night.
everyone.